On today's High End Gaming, we are talking about the video game Hades. I'm your host, Matt. With me is co-host The Sleep God, and we have a special guest today. His name is Bread, also known as August, and he's the host of Bread Radio, a fellow rival video game podcast. Would you say hello, Ted and Bread?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. I like the way you put that, rival, and that it's fun. We're all competing for like the same bandwidth, but you know, we all work together at the same time. That's how.
We're all like not successful together. You know, it's
right.
And when one of us becomes successful and has 100,000 followers, then you say, you know what, you should really, if you guys are really looking for some great stuff, hop over to High End Gaming or hop over to Bread Radio.
Right.
And,
or you can just say F you because we're also rivals. No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the shadow battle.
Right.
The shadow battle of friendship.
No, thanks for having me on.
No, it's and just a quick story of how Brett and I met. We met on Reddit. I literally put out a post of, hey, anybody want to come on our podcast as a guest? And Brett was like, I would. And I said, well, what games do you like? And he said Hades, and I was literally playing through Hades.
You guys just became best friends after that, huh?
Well,
He's invited to the wedding.
It was the game I was playing, you know? It was the game that I was obsessed with at the time, 2 weeks ago or so. And I was like, yes, I'm not going to find, none of my friends are going to play Hades. They just won't. They don't have the balls for it.
So, like, what separates Hades? Like, I'm jumping right into it.
Yeah.
What separates Hades from other isometric melee beat 'em ups, as in, like, let's say the old God of Wars?
It's a masterpiece. Everything to me, I don't know, Brett, I'll let you go, but to me, real quick, it's this the actual fighting is so smooth and crisp that it's like it's an extension of my own body.
Yeah, I would go as far as to say, like, well, full disclosure for me, like, Hades won my own game of the year. It was number one for me. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say it's like necessarily like a God of War. It's a roguelike action game. So yeah, it's isometric. I don't know how I would describe the combat. It's
super fast paced.
It's very fast paced. It's not quite like a Diablo.
It's button mashing fast paced.
Because of the view, I think people mistake it as a Diablo type of a game.
Well, there's no the RPG elements are removed from the comment, so you're not each battle. So Hades,
it's all about skill.
Yeah. So just real quick for the jabronis who know nothing about Hades and think that we're talking about the blue guy from that Hercules Disney shit.
Mm-hmm.
Hades is the story of Zagreus, the son of Hades, prince of the underworld, pretty much, who wants to escape the underworld, and so he decides to leave against everybody's wishes. They says he can't leave, and he has to get through the underworld, basically fight through the underworld. And every time he dies, he goes back to the house of Hades, which is where he lives at like the most bottom part of the underworld. So that's where the roguelike aspect comes in, where you keep dying and just you die in the underworld. There's nowhere else to go. You just go back to the underworld.
So wait, you're saying instead of like Dark Souls checkpoints, you just go straight back to the beginning of the entire game?
Yeah. So you'll play the first level 50 times.
Yeah, it's it's a run.
So you're telling me you have to go through all these stages in like perfect run accuracy?
No, they're procedurally generated. So right. Bread?
Yeah, to a certain extent, like
it switches around.
Each area has its own like hallmarks. That kind of like it's got its own art style. It's got its own room layout. But every time you go through, it'll just be like a little bit slightly different. You won't get the same power ups every time you go through. Maybe some different enemies, maybe a different boss. So it keeps it fresh. Like it's familiar. Like you know what you should be doing and what your strategy is. Like when you're going through. A little bit more every time as you learn more about the game. But it also mixes it up a bit because you much like rogue games, like a Binding of Isaac, you'll have different power ups. So you play
No run
to
is
your
identical.
own powers. Exactly.
No two runs are identical. So you start in Tartarus.
So like you can't look up a playthrough and try to follow somebody else's playthrough online.
No, and the reason you can't is because all of your power-ups come in the form of boons from the Olympians. So Zeus will be like, "Hey, take my thunderbolt power, and every time you attack, you'll strike people with thunderbolts." And then you reach a new level, a new room, because it's room by room by room by room, and of progression, and you have to clear all the enemies in each room to move to the next one. And in some of the room, each room is defined by the reward you get after beating it. So you beat a level, you get a thunderbolt power from Zeus, and then you have two options. You have two doors you can go through. You can go through a room that gives you health, or you can go through a room that gives you another Olympian power. So you go through a room, say, a Poseidon. You beat all the enemies in that room, and then Poseidon shows up. He's like, hey, nephew, how's it going? Here's some water power. I'm pretty. That's a pretty good description, right, Brad?
Yeah, like before we bury the lead, basically Hades doesn't want you to leave, and the Olympian gods kind of they hear that you're trying to leave, so it's basically like a one-way conversation with them. Like you can't really talk to them, but they send down a boon, like to your point, to power you up, and when you grab those boons, like a little bit more story is revealed. So when you say you go back all the way to the beginning of the game, basically, that's kind of true, but it's also not, because every time you go through, you get a little bit more knowledge about the story that's unfolding. And I think it's so smart because...
So, like, let's say, like, I had a playthrough where I didn't die. I wouldn't learn any story.
No, you would. You would learn story. But you're probably going to die 15 to 20 times before you even get to the end. And spoiler alert, the end of Hades, the final boss, is fucking Hades, okay? So if you do make it through Tartarus, which is the labyrinth maze of the Underworld thing, that's where all the suffering souls go after they die. Then you get to the Asphodel. Is it Asphodel or Asmodel?
Yep.
Asphodel
Meadows,
which is basically just lava and fire everywhere. I don't know who goes there after they die. I don't remember the actual.
I think it's just part of like I think it used to be Asphodel Meadows, and something happened, and now it's like lava fields, and no one's really there. I'm not sure.
I don't know who exactly
the lore is.
And then the third level of the Underworld, is the Elysian Fields, which is where like all the heroes and the gods go when they die. So Achilles would be up there, Theseus. I don't know how much you know, but anyway, once you get through those three, you fight Hades. And if you get through all of them, and then you get through Hades, you escape, because we'll get into the story a little bit later. You have to beat Hades to escape, but I got to Hades 3 times before I beat him, so he fucked me up 3 times.
Yeah,
all right, so
it's
check this out. Like,
misery.
I like, from what I seen, and but from what you guys are telling me, the shit like sounds like pretty dope. But from what I've seen, it doesn't look like that. It looks like it could run on a PS3 from what I've seen.
Okay.
But what you guys are explaining to me makes me think that, okay, this is like a PS4 game, or like a next generation game.
Sorry, but of its kind, it's the best I've played.
So I know there was like another game with like procedurally generated stages, but it was for like the PS Vita or some shit. I think it was called like Killing Floor or some shit.
Yeah. The whole roguelike has become a huge genre, I think. It's grew.
Yeah, there's a ton of rogue games, from Binding of Isaac to Rogue Legacy,
Dead Cells. Dead Cells I beat like 2 weeks before Hades.
Yeah, I would say what Hades does kind of differently than a lot of those games. There's story in other rogue type games, but it's not necessarily what drives you forward. What drives you forward are the like really sick runs where you get a bunch of power ups that all synergize really well.
You mean like massively killing people and you're just alone?
Rogue is that what it is? I thought Rogue was like you die and start over.
Yeah, roguelike games essentially means like it's like run based. So the thing I like about Hades is I can jump in and
like
complete
Mario
a run
and shit. Like you gotta like no
run Mario... like there one run is like you get your distance and then you go back to you go start over and you compound the knowledge and some of the power ups you've gained on each run into the next one to get further each time.
Well, yeah, you can't do that with the stages though because it's different. That's crazy.
Yeah. So like every time you go through, like Tartarus is still Tartarus, right? And mostly the same enemies are in there, but from room to room you're getting different power ups, and it might like it's not always going to be like the second room you walk into. It's not always going to be the same set of guys, and you're not always going to be talking to Zeus to get a power up. It might be, a different mini boss, and then you talk to Ares, the god of war, who has a different boon for you that does a specific type of power up. Like each Olympic god, has some sort of boon they give you that sort of is in line with their ability. So Zeus has like thunder based abilities, and those are all mapped to, a quick attack, a power attack, a dash move, or a special move. And depending on what you select for that boon, you get a different build. Yeah. Does that make a little more sense? Kind of.
You can like create a new character, a new build each time you go through, and
it's pretty wild, yo.
Yeah, you.
How much was this game?
It's only $25.
Yeah,
and that's the full price.
That has always been the full price, and when I tell you it's a masterpiece, I mean it. And this company, which we'll get to in a second, SuperGiant Games. I played their very first game, Bastion, which I thought was amazing.
Masterpiece.
8 or 9 hour game. Then they made 2 other games, Transistor and Pyre, which I didn't play. And I know they didn't get as great a receptions as Bastion or Hades, but Hades is like the game this company was meant to. I don't know how they're going to top Hades, but they're expected to now at this point, right? Like you put a game out like as good as that.
I heard the soundtrack was really good too.
Oh yeah, dude! Masterpiece. When I say masterpiece, when I say masterpiece, I'm talking 10 out of 10 in every category.
Oh shit!
Right?
Like story, graphics, sound. I can't think of any other categories right now off the top of my head.
Gameplay.
Yeah, that's probably that's probably important.
Where did you guys play it on?
Switch.
I played it on the Switch as well. Right now, it's only out on the Switch and Steam and Epic Games. They haven't rolled out a release on like PS4, PS5 yet. I would say it's only a matter of time before it gets there.
Oh yeah, I think this year or next year.
Yeah, but honestly, playing on the Switch in handheld mode it's awesome because it's totally like I said. If you have a shit run, you're maybe down for 15 to 20 minutes. But if you have a great run, maybe it's 45. Yeah. But still, locking in to get like a pretty good experience and like for under an hour means a lot to me as I get older and older because time becomes, I don't have time to log into a game and manage manage inventory.
As the darkness of death creeps in.
Yeah, sell a bunch of items. I can just turn Hades on and pick up where I left off. It's great.
And that's why Hades, the Underworld is important because that's where we're all going to end up. Now, I want to get into a question I have. Now, Ted, you won't really have much say in this because it's a versus. We pit like characters against each other, and I wanted to know what you think, Brett, about Zagreus versus Kratos, full power, both of them. In a fight to the death, who wins? My answer is Kratos, but
it's got to be Kratos, right?
It's got to be Kratos. So right. It's Kratos kills gods, and Zagreus more or less is a god. But Kratos has proven that every god he meets, he can kill if he wants. So,
right, he's a demigod of itself.
Yeah. and he's the god of war. And basically, in my opinion, as powerful as Kratos is, or as powerful as Zagreus is in his games, I think if Kratos showed up in his games, he would just kill. He would kill everybody.
Yeah, it's just more like when I think about it, it basically comes down to who wants it more, and Kratos is just fueled on rage. And Zagreus is pretty aloof throughout the whole. He's just like, yeah, whatever.
He's
I'm trying to get out of here.
He's a total bro.
Yeah, he's like, I die, I come back, my dad talks shit to me, and then I go back into the world. Yeah,
he's got like the spiky hair. He's definitely a bro.
So is your Guido.
A little bit, maybe.
Not a lot of fist pumping out there, but
no,
he gets by.
Yeah, hates his dad.
He does it behind closed doors.
Yeah. So let me before we get into what games we played, I'm going to read the ad. So we're recording on Remotely FM, and if you're a podcaster, you know how difficult it can be to record high-quality remote interviews. Remotely FM makes it super simple for you to record your next interview. The platform records each participant locally on separate studio-quality audio and video tracks. The tracks are automatically backed up and much more. To start recording great remote interviews and to learn more, go to remotely.fm. So, Remotely's great. We'll move on.
This is cool. Yeah, I'm not to like extend your ad read, but I've never done anything like this before in iPodcast, so pretty rad.
So the great thing about this is that we could just do audio, how we're doing it now, or you can also do it video where we can see each other.
Facts.
And record the video. And then you can also do it where you don't record the video, just the audio, and like still use the video communication aspect.
Also facts.
So
well.
it's definitely a consumer and user based service that our buddy Danny Redfall created.
Oh, that's cool.
Non-fiction.
Yes. So Brad, you go first. What games have you been playing? What have been the games of your life lately?
Well, in prep for this week, of course, I played a little bit of Hades, but I'm sure we'll talk at length about Hades. I've also been playing a game on PC a little bit called Hell Let Loose in early access. It's kind of a World War II sort of military, not quite simulator, but it's pretty realistic. 50v50. We've been having
like battle? Like
yeah,
battle
50v,
royale?
Not a battle. Well, yeah, not battle royale in the sense of like a PUBG,
like a team.
but yeah, like a battlefield almost, but a little more like realistic, I would say.
Okay.
And
if you die, you're out of the match?
No, you're not out of the match, but it's just the control. Like it's a little less arcadey. Like in Battlefield, you can run and gun and slide around, and in this, you can definitely feel the weight of your character.
Sure.
The enemies aren't explicitly marked on, like, so if you see a guy from long range, you're not sure if it's your guy, one of your teammates, or an enemy. So you kind of have to be careful if you're in a long range engagement. And then there are also like commanders and squad leaders who are like responsible for different roles on the field and like coordinating the attacks. So it's a military sim, but it's also like highly reliant on communication. And I've been having a great time with it because it hasn't been quite it's not the Call of Duty experience, right? Like no one's going to come in and insult my mother. At least they haven't yet. Like so far the community is like a little bit older, seemingly, and everyone's there to like have a good time and work together, which is it's refreshing,
That's cool.
Like
yeah.
I've been seeking those experiences out. So
yeah, there's a time and place.
That shit, pardon me, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
but you know what that shit reminds me of? What was it? It was the Gundam game. I forget
the one on
called.
PS4, the free one?
Yeah, the one on PS4. It's free. It's like real slow. Like the Gundams are slow,
right?
But like you could like feel the impact of like the swords and shit. It's like it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
A little bit more tanky, which I don't know. Sometimes, like you're saying, sometimes I want that feeling in the game, but the community stuff you're talking about and how toxic a game is, you don't realize what people mean by toxic games until you get dropped into a chat party with strangers after
Right.
or before a match, and everybody's just like, "Fuck you," like "fuck you, piece of shit."
Dude, that happened to me in Warzone. Like after you guys left, and like I entered in like a room with like three other people I didn't know, and everybody got mad.
It sucks, right? Like that's just not a good feeling. It's weird that we live in a day and age where I would almost rather have my mic on. Like if I play Warzone, I'm not with my buddies these days. I just don't have my mic on. It's not
Oh,
worth
you know what the best is though?
It's not worth it.
Sometimes I just go to GTA Online just to hear like people talking smack to each other. Because
you just consume yourself with
usually
hatred.
a race war going on.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like 50% of the time, there's usually a race war going on.
Oh yeah.
There you have it. Ted is a fan of race wars.
You heard it here first.
We're just admitting the truth to ourselves.
Oh, dude, it's funny.
So what else you been playing?
So every Thursday, I actually record the podcast on Thursdays, but afterwards, I kind of just have like a standing game night with some of my buddies. So we play a lot of Valorant. Do you guys know that game at all? It's like a tactical shooter akin to Counter-Strike, but with powers like an Overwatch.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I know about it.
Yeah,
And-
they have like a national team or some shit, right?
Yeah, there are leagues now. Like a lot of pros from Counter-Strike and the North American scene, at least, are going over to Valorant right now. It's made by Riot, who also does like League of Legends. So there's a big developer backing there, and I anticipate once the world opens up, there'll be some like actual tournaments. I love esports and esport games. So,
What do you watch besides the current games you're playing? What's your favorite?
Counter-Strike for sure. I just think
so you're an old school. Are you an old school Counter-Strike guy?
Honestly, no. Like I was a console gamer up until like 2012 or 2013 when I built my first PC. But I live out here in Columbus, Ohio, and there was in 2016 there was the first North American major, so like the Valve sponsored tournaments, was in Columbus, and people from all over the world, teams from all over the world were here, and it was down where the Blue Jackets play in Nationwide Arena. And I went to see it, and I walked in, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, the production value is so high, like the viewership experience, the tools that they have on hand to make the viewer experience like next level it's so impressive. And like I often don't like, I think people are quick to dismiss, and I've even got some of my friends, like if you're a sports fan, there's probably an esport out there for you as well that you could also get into. Like
yeah.
There's like a level of tactics there, and outgaming the other team, the strategy that I think often goes unnoticed by the mainstream. And I just think that level of like detail, and outsmarting your opponent is so exceptionally cool. Just as cool as like,
I wonder why that still is the whole,
what do you mean?
like the whole negative view of gamers. I mean, do you really think less than 50% of America plays video games?
No, I think it depends on what like kind of your definition is of a video game at that point, right? Because if you include like your Candy Crushes and your like, especially Sims, there's so many people I know that like just play like The Sims 4,
Right.
or they just play Hearthstone or something mobile. I think there are a ton of people out there. Like games, I think are
I don't really
a bigger
like
part of our
mobile
lives than anyone is willing to admit.
I'm not a big fan of mobile games and people who play them and call themselves gamers.
No, I mean I get that, but I think also like I think we risk shunning like another mobile games, whether you hate them or love them, are here to stay. Like you look at Genshin Impact,
But like when that term was like, I guess like created to be like, I guess derogatory towards those kind of people.
Mobile games.
Phones only had like a certain limit they were able to process.
Right.
Now, dude, people are playing fucking Dreamcast games on their phones now.
Final Fantasy VII, the original, is on my brother beat it on his phone.
You can play San Andreas.
Dude,
You can play Vice City.
Wow.
The Call of Duty Battle Royale is out there mobile, and it's actually not a terrible experience. I played it a little bit, and
A couple of my buddies.
kind of wild.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's crazy, dude.
It just makes me angrier, I guess. I guess that like me just getting older.
Yeah,
I just get
it's
angry at things I don't understand.
They fucking caught up, man. I
Fortnite.
think we're the only place to report it. They fucking caught up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yep. Consoles are canceled. We only
What
play on
do we
phones now.
lose? What do
We lose the
we,
respect of
we lost the
playing
Vita.
games.
That's what we lost, right?
did.
But
Pour
we
one
got
out.
the Switch.
We got the Switch,
Yeah.
and we lost the DS and the 3DS. They don't make games for them no more, do
Well, the
they?
Switch. Well, I bet you they'll come out with another game. But the Game Boys.
The Switch ate them shits.
Yeah, but the Game Boy,
I'm
Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, they are some of the most sellingest consoles of all time. Like,
Wait till they make the Virtual Boy 2, yo. I'm gonna get one of them, Johns.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the future is in cloud gaming still, because you can stream. Like, I know Stadia is not being handled very well, but they're already trying it with xCloud and PlayStation Now, and you can stream games from your PlayStation to your
now
phone.
is pretty tight. I could say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so if you have a controller with Bluetooth, or you have there are controllers where you can just like slot your phone in, you can take AAA experiences with you pretty much anywhere you go. I think really the only thing holding us back is the infrastructure here in this
You can
this
play
country.
remote
like
play
mobile
on
infrastructure.
your phone now on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's what he's talking
exactly.
about. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I'm always dropping my phone, and I have these huge cases on it, and I just think that if it ever became my video game experience as well, I don't know. I would lose too much if I
don't know.
all
I
my
always
eggs would be in
treated
one basket.
My Vita different than my phone. My Vita
Oh, yeah.
was always priority over my phone.
I treat
Right.
my Nintendo Switch as the priority.
Yeah, I have a screen protector on my Switch, but I don't on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I probably dropped my Switch like once, and when I did it, it was like from not enough for it to do any damage, right?
Mhm.
I've dropped my phone like 14 times this week. I
It's
mean,
second
and I'm
nature at
using my
this point.
phone more, and it's more sporadic. Like, oh, pick up for 5 seconds. Oh, pick up for 10 seconds. But enough about that shit. What games you been playing, Teddy?
So I went back to the old school, homie. I guess I got depressed, and I was like, you know what?
Depression.
This shit makes me happy. Let me go back to when I was a child in my wee days. So I was playing Need for Speed Most Wanted,
Okay. Oh my God.
SSX 3.
Oh my god, SSX3 is like in my top 5 favorite games of all time. I love that game. I'm so happy to hear you say it.
NBA Street Volume 2. I played it for like 10 minutes, realized I was trash again, and then put in a different game.
Which one was NBA Street? Was that the one where like it was 3-on-3 and everybody was dunking?
No, that
Pretty much.
What was the game where you could play as like a there was like a Yeti and an alien?
That's the first NBA Street, I believe.
That is the
I think
all the
NBA Street 2 is when they had all the players on the field.
but NBA
No.
Street, the first one,
No. You're right. You're three players. You're absolutely right.
is
Street
that I'm
2
talking
has,
about
like,
the right game, right?
Yeah.
Tracy McGrady is in that one, right?
I think it's the one where you have to like it's like a story mode. You make your own character and you have to beat all the special characters.
Yeah.
And like one guy's really good at shooting, one guy's really good center, and
Dude,
then you
the first one was really good,
yeah.
but the second one, it's like the magnum opus of basketball games. Like
Okay.
literally, it's top 2.
Yeah.
I don't know what number 2 would be though, but
why don't
I
just
know
look
that this is in the top 2 basketball games all time.
NBA
Yeah.
Jam, Super Nintendo, or whatever. Is the
That's
other one.
also true. That's also true. That would, yeah. I don't. Maybe like
Yep.
another 3D one.
Dude,
I don't
I'm
know
looking
if
at that
the-
cover, the dude with the afro.
Oh yeah, dude, I got it right here.
Yeah, NBA Street. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I agree. That's got to be like where do basketball games go from there? Yeah.
And then SSX3, that was like the
God.
peak of snowboarding games.
100%.
PS2, man. PS2.
Right.
Brad, we did a whole episode on consoles generations and the games that went with
I don't
each
even
console.
think we finished the concept of that. Part 2.
Yeah, we did part 2, but the first one we kind of stopped around PS2 because PS2 had so many fucking good games. It was crazy.
Right.
Dude,
PS-
I think it had the longest generation. I think PS2 lasted for like 12 years before they killed it off.
It might even be longer than that. I know it was like 2012 or 13 when they stopped producing those finally.
Yeah.
I think it's the best-selling console of all time, isn't it? Or is the Wii now?
I think it is. No, it is the PS2 for sure. I was looking it up.
The Wii, I think, is like the fastest selling.
Right.
I think the Switch beat that though.
Oh shit!
I'm pretty sure that it beat it the other year. Well, you know, I have to look all this stuff
Apples
up.
and oranges. At that
Yeah,
point.
that'll be. We'll bring you on for another episode, Brad, where we talk about consoles.
I'd love to. That'd be great.
Consoles.
Dude,
Now,
imagine a world without consoles, dude. That's fucking crazy.
Imagine a world.
I don't want to live in it.
Imagine a world without love.
That's the same. You just said the same sentence twice.
Yeah, so, games I've been playing. Ted, were you done with the games that you've been playing while depressed? Yeah. Okay, so the games I've been playing, Call of Duty Zombies, the new one, the Outbreak, which is
just bought that today.
Fucking awesome! It's
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you play? We're gonna have to play together.
I just bought it because my buddies bought. So they have.
Yeah, don't
two
tell my
Xbox
wife
Ones.
I bought it too.
I won't.
$40.
But sorry to cut you off, but they were playing on Xbox One, and we were trying to play split screen. They've been on a huge zombies kick throughout the whole pandemic because it's like an experience we can all have in the house. You know, we've done everything back from the original, and then we finally got the new one.
It's tradition at that point,
right? So the only thing I'll say is we tried to play it in split screen, and holy shit, it's terrible. So the only reason, maybe this is exactly what they wanted and why they didn't put any resources into split screen, but I bought it on my PlayStation so we can all play on our own TVs because I cannot stress enough how bad it looks. It looks worse than the original.
Really? Who would have thought?
It's crazy.
Wait, but you were saying that was on the Xbox, right?
Yeah, that was on the Xbox. We were trying that. I looked up. There were a lot of threads about how Treyarch kind of dropped the ball with split screen there, which stinks.
Which Xbox?
They just have the one, the two of the original Xbox Ones.
I don't understand. So you got the Xbox One, which is the third Xbox, and the Xbox One is the original, but Xbox One is the third one.
Your
and
sentence
the 360 is the second
sense.
one, and the Xbox One X is not the One S, but the digital Lionheart.
This is the most painful thing I've.
You sound like you're in the Microsoft boardroom trying to explain to investors.
You sound like the guy who's naming the Xboxes.
Any of it, dude.
You sound like the guy who names the Xboxes and is explaining it to the boardroom.
Every day we stray further from God's light with the new Xbox name.
This is Xbox One X.
Imagine being a parent who doesn't understand what
they just call it the Y box next round.
I just wonder how many parents accidentally got their kids
WHY.
See, you don't get it. It's the Xbox X is the last one because S and like somebody's trying to explain it. I'm like, I don't fucking understand,
dude.
Which one's the newest one? Let's just tell me that,
dude. More often than not, can drugs be blamed?
Maybe. What's more confusing, the name of all the Kingdom Hearts games or the Xbox console naming conventions? That's the real question. It might be Xbox.
Birth Memories of Sleep Dash 2.6.
No, but wasn't that because it was on the DS? It was called like Dual Sleep or something.
Dude, they got fucking symbols. They got like the hash mark and hashtags in their fucking names.
The game formerly known as Kingdom Hearts.
Dream Drop. Distance semicolon third sleep fucking names.
Yeah, that's saying something when
Remember
Xbox still might be more
fighting
confusing.
Game? Final Fantasy Duodecim 0, 1, 2 or some shit. Like, what are these numbers here for?
Dude, it means something else in Japan. It has to. It has to be more recognizable symbolism.
Translation didn't work.
Yeah, maybe.
Ryu is not bison. Bison is a Balrog, and
So they do that. They did that in
You know the
Japan, but they
story.
could still figure out for their consoles. They just need to stick with numbers. That's what's so funny.
Yeah.
like 1, 2, 3,
PlayStation.
4, 5.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep. And everybody's just losing their dicks over it because they can't find it anywhere.
and dude, what's going on with Nintendo? Are you guys, or am I blind, or are you guys not understand? Okay, so check it out. The Xbox controller, right? We got A, B, Y, and X, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the Nintendo has the same buttons.
Yeah, Nintendo was
But they're
first.
just
So what's
they're
your
color
question?
different.
What's your question?
The
Nintendo was
Y,
first.
When did the Y and the X switch spots? And when did the A and the B switch spots?
Well, I think it's because in
GameCube?
Japan they go from right to left. So
No, but what generation did it switch? Because
I don't know. Who cares?
Because in Nintendo 64, A was where square was, and B was where
There's only
X
two
was.
buttons. No, it's always been the same with Nintendo.
And now A is where circle is, and B is where X is.
Yeah, they changed it because they can do whatever they want. I don't.
When did they do that?
I don't know.
When did they do
I don't
that?
have the documents in front of me right now.
Because I got the GameCube controller, and it looks like somebody hit it with a hammer. Like the design.
They
It
just-
looked like somebody had like a piece of paper on the table, and somebody didn't like it, and then just hit it with their hand.
The GameCube controller looks like some executives like kid drew a controller, and they were like, "Let's go with that."
Like
Yeah,
somebody
it's-
was shaking the table when they were drawing the buttons, and they looked like jelly beans.
Somebody is shaking the table with your microphone, Ted.
Listen,
Sounds like you're holding it up like you're a comic.
it sounds like I'm very passionate about.
He's up on his
nothing.
soapbox.
Yo, all right. So back to this tangent.
Sorry,
we got
tangent.
On was
Yes.
was from I was playing Zombies, which is awesome. Which don't tell my wife I got it. And then that was the last thing. And then the other game I beat God of War on PS5, which looks so fucking crazy on PS5 compared to PS4.
Did you play it on PS4?
No. But
Okay.
you can see. I looked up the comparisons. It's insane how good it looks on PS5. It's
Well, this
just
shit's in
fantastic.
like 10K on your fucking
Dude, it's magic. It's
screen.
It's a
like
masterpiece.
fucking popping out and shit.
Best console AAA game I've played in a long time, and that's saying something because Hades I think is equally as great, but it's a $25 game on handheld. So these are two clear different experiences of games, and I think because we are supposed to be talking about fucking Hades, Hades and God of War, it's almost like no game could really have anything to do with the Greek pantheon of gods because God of War 1, 2, and 3 just absolutely
Crushed it.
He
dominated it.
just fucking killed
Yeah,
everybody.
they crushed it. He literally killed everybody, and those games were so good. They were so popular. I think they themselves, being a PlayStation exclusive, like definitely boosted up the PlayStation name.
Is it 60 FPS on PS5?
I'm pretty sure
No, it's 64K.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 64K.
they just did a patch for it like a month or so ago, and that was right when I started to get it. But that game is a masterpiece. I just beat it. I can't wait to keep playing it. It's got tons of end game content.
I played it in performance mode on the Pro. It's still pretty good.
Did
I don't have any interest in playing this shit in cinematic mode. It's basically like 30 frames a second, but like everything is like rendered like good, I guess.
Downsampled.
But yeah, you can't even tell the difference. So it's like, why not just put it in performance?
Dude,
mode?
check it.
And
Check
just have
it
a
on,
smooth frame rate.
Yeah, dude, check it on PS5. When you you can see like the pores on the back of Kratos' head and shit.
Oh yeah, how are the triggers,
Exactly
bro?
what I wanted.
Can you explain that?
We'll talk about God of War later. Let's get back into Hades because we have not gotten to, because I wanted to ask this comparison
Sure.
of the battles versus the Hades. So Hades in God of War
Mhm.
versus Hades in the Disney Hercules movie versus Hades in the game Hades. Who would win in a fight? Tri battle. They all show up in the realm, interdimensional realm battle,
Oof.
and they're all full power. Who do you think? Which Hades do you think swallows the other two?
I'm gonna say the Hades owned by Disney, just because Disney would find a way to throw enough money at it to win.
More power.
Yeah.
I mean, I think mechanic wise, I think you're right, and I'm gonna defer to that being the right answer. But I think if they were to like get into a fist fight, the Hades from Hades, full power would probably win. But
Yeah.
I think it would be one of those situations where they'd all just start making out, and like a triple makeout session, and then become one Hades.
I ship that.
And then that Hades just makes everywhere the underworld, and everybody, sexual torture all the time.
Yeah. Now, is it still voiced by like James Woods? Like, whose voice comes out on top?
Yeah, James Woods is definitely there.
Okay. Yeah. No, I buy into that. It's totally it falls in line with a lot of Greek mythology too. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of there's so much
what were those
fornicating.
movies that Hades was in?
What?
Hercules, right?
Hercules?
Dude, you don't remember
All right,
Hercules?
No.
You never saw the Disney
No,
cartoon?
I seen Hercules. Fuck Hercules.
Okay.
First of all.
Hercules, the legendary journey with that fucking guy.
Don't I just have to give him a flat tire in his shoes and he's like immobilized or some shit, right?
That's Achilles, you fuck. You don't have a Hercules heel. You have an Achilles heel.
A Hades heel.
Yeah, you got a Hades heel. You got a Hercules heel. No, that's
that's
Achilles. That's Achilles thing.
All right, so check it out. So Disney remakes the Hercules movie, right? And they get Will Smith to play Hades.
Okay.
So that's the Hades that I'm gonna pick for that battle to win.
Will Smith.
Would it be Will
Hades.
Smith or would
Will
it be
Smith
like
Hades
Jared
when they make
Leto?
that movie.
Because they just like put him into everything now as like a bad
Well,
guy.
if you put Jared Leto in, then that's racist. Because Will Smith. Why can't a black man be Hades?
Yeah, black man has
Will
to be
Smith
a blue
Hades
man,
can
too.
still be like Will
You know
Smith
what I
has
mean?
already
You can't get
been.
a white man to play a blue man.
I don't know. He did a pretty shitty job with the fucking genie in that.
I was gonna say he's already a
Allah
blue.
Houdin movie.
You know what? Screw it. Let's have Will Smith Hades and Jared Leto Hades and have them fight.
Yeah, so those
what
two
I'd
show
watch.
up with those other
How can
three
Will
Hades
Smith
that are making
be,
out.
so intense in movies, and it does not even matter. Like, you're just sitting there just yawning.
Dude, he only got into one fight his entire life, and his mom made him go live with his uncle because of it.
It was a
He
little
cried
fight.
and made a show about it.
But no, what we have is Jared Leto, Hades, and the Will Smith Hades. They show up in the same realm with the three Hades that are literally stuck making out for eternity, and they just join in. James Wood is just there playing the violin for all five of them.
I'm sitting here laughing at my answer. It's so ridiculous.
It sounds like a mobile game waiting to happen.
Yeah, the fits of Hades. So okay, so I have a couple things I want to get through, just favorite power ups, favorite Greek god, favorite weapon, stuff like that. So the game is so much deeper than you think when you first play it, because you can build. So real quick, Ted. There's Ares, there's Athena, there's Zeus, there's Poseidon, there's Aphrodite, there's Dionysus, he's the god of wine, and there's Demeter, and then there's also Chaos, and I think
Hermes,
and I might be missing. Oh, and then there's Artemis and Daedalus. So. Daedalus is a little different, but each one of them. So Athena, all her attacks have to do with shields, right? What?
You don't get Hercules heels. Yeah.
Still.
so you got Athena is all about shields and deflecting. You got Zeus, he's about power and striking people with bullets and like paralyzing. You got Poseidon, who's water attacks, and his attacks push knockback. Yeah, push people away. Ares, he's some guys they have curses. So Ares
spears.
Ares has do you think he's named after? Yeah, probably. Ares is you get doom. So every time you hit somebody, it inflicts a curse of doom, which adds extra damage. And he throws like
delayed damage.
Yeah, delayed damage, stuff like that. And then Aphrodite, it makes them weak. Dionysus, they get hung over. Demeter is she's the frost. She's the frost woman.
Seasons, I think.
God of seasons, so she freezes people. And Artemis is just about like attack strength. So each one of them has their own separate power up, like strategy and category. And you could do like a bunch, just do two like the whole time, just do Poseidon Zeus, but you could also spread it out and have different attacks for everybody, and you're really just like creating this pyramid of power from all the boons that the gods give you. And
I've noticed that I was gonna say I've noticed that focusing on like one or two gods has made my life easier, like trying to use two gods to synchronize basically, instead of like spreading the love. Have you had the same experience? Or
well I always go, so my basis is like get the Athena dash, because so there's the 5 things that you can really, or 6 things. There's the regular attack, so like medium attack, then there's the heavy special attack, there's a cast, you can like cast a spell, there is the the call, where that's like a super powered attack, like you call down one of the gods to come help you, and the last one is the dash attack, and each one of those is what you can ascribe each boon to that you get, but it's random, so you get choices, but it's random of what you get to pick each time you meet a god. And the last one is if you get attacked, it'll do damage. So if I get attacked and I have Athena's boon, it will automatically deflect, so I won't get attacked twice in a row. So it's complicated, but what I would go through is for the dash attack, I would make sure that I had Athena, so that anytime I was dashing, people couldn't hurt me. So no matter what, I'm not getting damaged. Great. Then for my my call, I would either use Ares or Poseidon, because I could just fucking demolish people with their like super summon power attacks. And then for my cast ability, I would use who would I use? I would never use Zeus. I think I would use like Aphrodite's or Ares, because I thought they were pretty powerful. And then for my special and my attack, I would assign to like whoever gave me the best boon, because all of them are doing damage.
Right.
But basically, if you went with Athena for attack and dash, you're barely ever going to get attacked because her shields save you.
Right.
So I mean, I don't want to. I don't want it to be like Athena dash is language.
No, Athena dash is definitely like the way to go. The other thing, they have like duo abilities, which are pretty cool. Where 2 gods work together.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And there's this one like for Aphrodite, her call attack, basically you can use it to make any enemy like friendly for a period of time. Typically, like for 1 bar of the build, I think it's like 1.5 seconds or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Which can save your ass. If you have a full charge, every ability has like a modifier if you have a full charge and you're using it.
Yeah.
I think it's like 7 seconds. But there's a duo, I think, with Aphrodite and Zeus, where you're limited, like your call is limited down to 1 bar only, so like 25%, but it's always charging. So if you get that duo, when you get to Hades, you can basically make them friendly for the entire battle because it's charging so fast, and you can just like burn them down. And that's one of the first times I beat him, and it was so sick. Like you were just like, you can't even hit me. It felt so good. When you get like the right synergy, it feels so good.
And that gets to why I think it is such a perfect game, because most rogue games, they're like, hey, you died and you start over. Oh, you like Rogue Legacies, you die and then your descendants of the character that dies are the ones who go in next. But like, that's just like a cheap excuse. Dead Cells, you're not even like a person. You're just like you're just a cell. You're just like a weird fucking goop thing that continually
shrugs all the time.
Gets thrown back to the beginning. But
there was one I heard of that like every time you die, your dude gets older until he just dies.
Isn't that Shifu? Sifu?
I don't think no.
That's what that game Sifu kind of looks like. But we'll talk.
That's what Sifu looks like.
Yeah, that's what Sifu looks like.
The combat looks pretty dope in that.
I'm hoping that they do well with the combat. But I want to get back to what I was just saying. But about the combat, it feels like a fighting game. It feels like, I know it is a fighting game, but it feels like a 2D fighter with multiple buttons that you have to be pianoing. Like, you have to press button, like really in the right quick succession so that you don't get fucking torn up. Because if you die, it's over. You go back to the beginning. So you have to basically get through the entire game without getting hit much and make the decisions where you heal yourself when possible.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times you're making the choice between getting more powerful or healing up. So like, you kind of have to like weigh the pros and cons. Like, do I have enough health to make it through the rest of this floor? Do I know a boss is coming up?
It almost seems like
can I do this?
3D Mario with like no checkpoints.
Oh, kind of. You have to play it. You have to. There's no platforming.
How many times can you get hit before you die?
Well, it depends on what your health is. You can increase your defense, kind of like you have like you start off with 50 health, but some guys attack by 15, and if you get hit twice, you're not. Their health is a very hard thing to come across, and if you're going for health, like Brett just said, you have to choose between getting health in the next room or getting a power up in the next room. Right. And there's so every time, so you get to the very first room, you drop out of the House of Hades, you leave like the town, I'll call it the town or the hub, which is where Hades is, where we're all like that's where Achilles is, that's where Nyx is, all the characters that you meet. They're all chilling in the House of Hades. Then you leave and you go into Tartarus and you go into a room, you fight a bunch of guys, you get a reward. Then you have three more rooms that you can choose from, 3 doors. And on each door is either like a health, like you increase your maximum health, you make one of your boons stronger, you get a boon from a god, you get a pomegranate, I already described what that is. You get coins. You get like the dark essence, which is what you level up your character with each run.
So you get a little stronger every time.
So you're deciding you're going to go through 15 to 20 rooms no matter what to get out of Tartarus. You choose the rewards of those rooms as per the build that you're trying to create with your character. So you could go through the whole first part of the first third of the game and not get hit once. And your guy is just uber powerful.
Oh, sure.
It's hard to explain. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but you basically decide what you're going to get every single level. So if you are going on a run for resources, then you're going to have less power because you didn't choose the power-up levels over the resource levels.
But you might have a better starting point then because you've got all your resources and you can invest those resources into like a higher base health or a higher base damage, that kind of stuff. So that's sorry to like transition you away, but can we talk a bit about like progression run to run? Because I think the way they do that with story and progression is really smart in a way.
Yeah, go ahead. Dive in.
Yeah, I think like the way Hades handles progression, like you're never happy to die necessarily, but it's not in the same sense where you're like, fuck man, like that sucked. Like sometimes sure you might feel like you could have done it. Like there's a skill aspect to it, but there's also the metagame of picking your power ups. You might not have the best power ups that run, but when you die, the you go back to the Hall of Hades or whatever it's called, the Hall of the Dead. I forget the
House of
exact
Hades.
term. House of Hades. Sorry. And when you go in, all the characters are there, might have something new to tell you about the story, either a tip or unravels something about the mystery that you're kind of trying to solve, which is like what happened to my mother. Or you go talk to Hades and he just talks shit to you, which is always kind of funny.
Yep.
And you talk to like Nyx, who's the god of the night.
She is
the night. Yeah,
something like that.
And she's like low key trying to help you. So when you die, like, sure, your run's over, but you go back and you're like, I don't feel that shitty about it because, one, I've got some resources to make my next run easier. I learned a little bit more about where I was going. Like maybe I made it all the way to Elysium, or I learned a new synergy of the powers. I tested out some new powers that time through, so I know what I want to strategize for the next run. But you also get these like little pieces of story every time you go through. So when I die, I'm like, sweet, now I get to progress the story a bit, talk to some more people, unravel more of the mystery, and I'm ready to make another run.
The story is addicting too.
It totally addicting.
You keep all your items when you die?
Well,
your boons?
You don't really you don't really have items.
You keep you have weapons.
You have a weapon, but like those weapons, the infernal arms, they're always there. Like you start a run, you pick your weapon, and then you leave the House of Hades. You come back to the House of Hades after every death. You walk through it is the House of Hades, which is Hades is sitting at a desk, just like writing papers, like signing people into the underworld, and then you go and walk through your own bedroom. You walk through Zagreus' bedroom, and then you go and get a weapon, and then you escape the House of Hades and start battling through the underworld. And every time you die, you basically just fall into a blood mist and are basically put into a pool of blood in the House of Hades, where all the dead souls are walking out of. So you don't bring anything back. You start off with nothing except the powers in the dude's body. And that's why I liked it so much, because they interconnected every single aspect of the game to the fact that you're dying over and over and over again to try and escape the underworld.
Right.
Because because your mother, the story is, which spoiler, you're the son of Hades. You find out your mother isn't who you thought she was your whole life. You find out your mother is Persephone, which is Hades, the only like lover Hades ever had in Greek mythology. And Persephone,
she left for some reason.
She left the underworld, and Zagreus wants to know why his mother left him. So he's like, I'm leaving. And the Olympians help him, and Hades is like, no, you fool, you can't leave, stupid boy, beep boop bop. And then he keeps trying to escape over and over again, and then he escapes. But I don't really want to spoil the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you think I don't care if I spoil it, but you let me know what you think, Brad.
I mean, your show, man. Do what you like. This game's been out since what, like September?
Yeah, man. Fuck everybody else.
I think there's some stuff that you learn throughout the game that's worth knowing, but I think necessarily some of the end game stuff isn't too bad to know. Like that's not necessarily the only thing driving you through. You learn a lot more.
The story really is addicting, and literally talking to characters and learning more about their stories each time you go back to the House of Hades, and getting further and further and talking to Hades is big. Like you get to the end of the 3 levels, Ted, and Hades is waiting there, and you talk to him, and you learn a little bit more about why your mother left, and then you finally defeat Hades. You kill him, or you kill him, and he goes back to hell. He goes back to the House of Hades, just like you did when you die. And the final levels, you go to Greece, and you're in Greece, walking around, and you find your mother, and she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And the mother, Persephone, says, or she's like, "Yeah, who the fuck are you?" And Zagreus is like, "I'm your son." And she's like, "No, you're not. My son died." And you learn that Zagreus, she didn't even know Zagreus was alive. So it's like, whoa. And then what happens, big spoiler, you die again. You, as an underworldling, you can't survive on the surface for like more than 5 minutes. So you beat the game, you beat you beat Hades, and then you die, and you have to go back, and you actually have to beat Hades, not the company. You have to beat the boss Hades 10 times to get the full story. Does that make sense?
That's pretty fucked up.
So, how many times did you beat it, Brad?
I think I'm at like 8 or 9 at this point. I don't think I've seen the last scene yet, but
Oh, dude,
I'm pretty close. I think.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. One of the final times that you get to Hades, he doesn't fight you. He just lets you go, and then you know
that's cool.
Then you know you've beat you're getting to the end. I won't spoil the actual end.
Right, like there's this whole wrinkle that like the Olympian got, like they're not supposed to know where Persephone is, and they're not supposed to know much. They don't know much about you, so there's this whole like proctoring piece part of the story as well that I think is part of the end game. But it's just cool that like once you beat the final boss, you're not necessarily done. There's still a reason to keep going.
Yeah.
But that first time you beat Hades does feel pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, Ted, to continue that addicting story, you keep beating Hades because you learn more and more and more and more from beating Hades. You learn from Hades, and then leaving to talk to Persephone, your mother, you learn more about her life each time you actually get through it. So you literally have to, like, I've died probably 40 times in the game.
Damn.
And I've beaten it 11 or 12 times because I kept going. Because even after you beat it, the 10 times to actually beat it, there's still more to learn from other characters in the in later runs after you've done everything.
Right.
Which
is there still more stuff for you to get?
Yeah, there's still more things to unlock, and it's really the story, and like I forgot, there's a whole like semi-social aspect to the characters. You can give them gifts, and these gifts come in the form of nectar of the gods, and nectar of the gods. So you collect this nectar of the gods. It's also one of the items that you can win by beating a room. You give it to fucking Achilles, and then he's like, "Oh, thanks, mate." Like, and then you learn more about Achilles by giving him, and you get closer, and you develop relationships with each character.
Away.
What?
Right. So
I said thanks, and then he's hopping away.
Right.
Don't want to hurt his heel.
Yeah, and you also do it for the gods too. So you meet the gods while you're fighting, and you give them, and then they like you more. You get better boons and shit like that.
It's just crazy. It's like, I don't know. It's a really solid rogue game. Like, if you just take gameplay aside, it's great. But the story also drives you forward. There's relationship building. There's fishing in this game that you bring back, and it gets you like upgrades and stuff. And there's just so many layers to this game. It's,
layers is the word. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying it's so hard to like represent this game to someone who has never played it. Yeah, like I was like, oh yeah, I can talk about Hades, but every time you bring something up, I'm like, oh yeah, and also like it's just there's so much going on, but everything it does, I don't have a lot of criticisms for that game, honestly. Only like I would probably have played it a ton more if my Joy-Cons didn't get Joy-Con drift. Honestly, that's the only reason I stopped playing.
Quick side tangent on Joy-Con drift: if you ever like want to just tinker and fix them yourself, it's really not that hard. To like unscrew it, put the new one in, and it'll really only cost you like $12. Like I was a little nervous the first time I did it, because I was like, "What if I lose my Joy-Cons?" It's like, well, they're fucking broke now anyway, right. So why not? And it's actually not that bad. It's actually they come with all the tools. It's actually quite simple and works great.
Huh. Okay, well, I might have to take you up on your tip there, and after the show,
Joy-Con boys.
Yeah. So that brings it. We're up to about an hour. I wanted to read. We have 2 questions from fans. They're not really about the game, but I like to give whoever emails us a chance to shout out. And I'm gonna leave it to you, Brad. Do you want question 1 or question 2? Question 2 is very insulting. Question 1 is a little less so.
Well, now I feel like I need to know what question 2 is. But you
So
said that, so let's start with 2.
So question 2 was from Raniel Holden. Okay, Raniel. I think it's a fake name. He says his question
Raniel.
is, I'm just going to read it how it is in the email. Question begins, of you disgusting creatures and your gaming setups. I guess us he's talking about.
Okay.
Which sides or pieces of your controllers, keyboards, and monitors has the highest amount of your biological material spattered and smeared on it? And in parentheses, he put feces, semen, saliva, mucus, and urine.
Oh my God. You weren't kidding.
No. Raniel.
No,
From somebody named Raniel.
I don't know. Maybe my controllers and my keyboard just from mostly just like sweat grime. That sounds gross. I try and pull apart my keyboard every so often, like pull all the keys out and dust it out and clean it out. But I've definitely in the past, like I've pulled out a PlayStation 4 controller and looked like under the joysticks and been like, that's pretty gross. I should probably
so you're
clean
a
that
tinkerer?
out. So I try and keep up to it.
You can tinker. You can You could totally fix your Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
I have faith.
That's exactly how I would describe myself. I'm a tinkerer, but I'm not necessarily tech savvy, but I can pull something apart and kind of figure stuff out.
An
It's all
old
reverse
world
engineering.
tinkerer.
It never come right. Exactly.
What about
Just
you,
like
Ted?
that.
Ted,
So-
Sleep Guy? Which one of your controllers has the most feces on it? Mine's my Switch because I take
would
it
have to be
into the
Switch
bathroom.
right. Yeah.
Well,
By default.
I think the dirtiest controller I have is one that I don't use. It's just collecting dust, honestly.
But what is that dust sticking to?
Fuck, man.
See.
But I had when I took all my controllers apart, I had to fucking. There was some shit in the square button. I didn't even know what it was, but I don't think it was from me.
Could have been some grease.
Who knows?
Dude, sometimes you
But
got
now,
grease on your fingers
like,
and it solidifies.
Dude, I fixed all my controllers, spare parts and shit, and now I have a shitload of shitty controllers.
How many good ones do you
I have 2 good controllers,
Okay.
and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of shit, fucking just spare part controllers. If I don't like somebody and they come over, yeah, play with that controller.
The Mad Catz controller.
Yeah. So
The little brother controller.
Yeah. That was a question. That was a question we got from Raniel, Raniel Holden.
Who names these
I don't know.
human beings?
I know. I've heard the name Daniel before, but Raniel. What are you gonna
Honestly,
do?
all my
Duraniel?
my controllers are all over the place because I spray my hands with Pam before every gaming session. You gotta stay loose.
What?
You gotta say loose, slippery,
Yeah,
and
that's
wet.
it. Look, man. If I'm WASD, I gotta slide to Q. Slips right off the key, man. Hot tip for all of you gamers
you're
out
talking
there.
about
True,
keyboard.
true gamers out there, spray their hands with Pam.
Dude, I'm if you're playing your hands with Pam and grabbing a PlayStation controller, yo.
Yeah, I don't know. Crisco works. Just dip your hands in. It's fine.
I just have my hands soaking in mayonnaise before I play.
Nice.
Me and my homies are fighting game players, so we used to put a thing over our thumb for the D-pad, so we would get D-pad burn and shit.
Yeah, I legit had calluses
special
on my
gloves.
hands back in the day.
But I think my thumbs have evolved way past any of that.
You think so?
Yeah, dude, I don't get, dude.
If these thumbs could
I play
speak,
with a Dreamcast D-pad. You ever play a fighting game on a Dreamcast D-pad, dude? You'll cut your thumb,
Right away.
dude. You'll.
yeah. So that's a question from Raniel.
Thanks, Raniel.
We have one more if you want to hear it. It's not as bad, but we can get them out of the way. This is around this time of the podcast is when we we dive into
man.
the fan questions. And
I love reader mail.
This is from a fan, Dylan O'Doyle. He says, while gaming, what is your drug of choice? And at the end, it reads, O'Doyle rules.
Well, I guess the list would be shorter if I said the ones that I didn't prefer while I was gaming. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I like alcohol is a drug, and like there's nothing like slugging some beers back with your boys and yelling at each other while you play zombies.
Every time I beat GTA San Andreas, I was drunk.
That's a fun fact. Every time you beat San Andreas specifically, you were drunk?
Yeah.
How many times have you beat it?
Like 5 times.
I expect you to be like one time, just the one.
I think for mine, my drug of choice is going to be like ibuprofen.
Oh yeah,
yeah, or
any games?
Sudafed. That's mine.
Sudafed. There you go.
Sudafed. I wrote down the wrong one. I was looking at the wrong pill case. Sudafed.
NyQuil.
Yeah, and what was I going to say about drugs and video games? Oh, quick tangent. I remembered. Quick tangent. Is love a drug or is love a battlefield?
Yes.
Did they answer that in a song?
I think it's the answer is yes. It's both.
Battlefield.
Okay, that's actually the right
Ask
answer.
Snake if he can find love on the battlefield.
No, it's just something that I heard once in like 8 different songs, and I just wanted to know. You know, I guess if love is a drug, then love is the drug that I like to abuse while I'm.
You guys ever get withdrawal from non-gaming?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, and vice versa. I get withdrawal from real life when I've been gaming too much.
Dude, I get it within 12 hours, bro.
Yeah. Thank goodness I have a steady relationship, and she understands me. Because sometimes, like every once in a while, at the end of the week, I'm just like, babe, like I just need to sit down and play a game for a minute and not think about anything else related to life or work. And you know, I love you, but
yeah, I was in an arranged marriage. I'm in an arranged marriage, so I didn't really have a choice, and neither does she. So it's kind of like, listen, I'm gaming, and she's just like,
it's game time.
I don't have a choice either way. And I was like, okay. No,
but to your point about going back to real life, like that's for real a thing too. Like sometimes I'll start gaming on a Friday night, and then it comes Sunday, and I step outside, and I'm like, oh my god, the sun's out. I probably should have been, out here at some point.
Dude,
over the course of the weekend.
Because like I feel like I just like lay down in my pajamas and just game for like 12 hours and feel so accomplished, but I did nothing.
Yeah, and then your eyes slowly gaze away from the screen, and you realize that like it's winter, and you're alone, and
the cabinets are empty.
Yeah. The toilet.
You only get up to take a piss.
Yeah, you literally are.
Wait, you guys get up?
It's like you're just slamming water as often as possible, and then you realize then 10 hours goes by and you haven't drank anything or eaten anything, and then you just eat a bunch of terrible shit.
Dude,
sleep,
and then like there's those days where like I'm like you're like super tired, but you like I don't know if it happens to you guys, but like this happened to me. Like I'm so fucking tired, but I need to game, but I'll be like half delirious gaming.
Yeah,
and I end up just like falling asleep in my chair.
Dude, it's the same.
Pissed off.
It's the same as with sweets, man. Like you could be full, you could eat a whole fucking meal, and then you'd be like, "Yo, I'm so stuffed, can't eat." And somebody pops out the ice cream. You're like, I could have a scoop.
What is that, Chunky Monkey? Yeah, I'll have a bite. Why not?
I could have a scoop. Oh, you have frozen bananas too? Put some chocolate syrup on top of that. I'll eat that too. It's okay. I'm not that full. Same thing with gaming.
Ted, to your point about like playing for 12 hours and you're like, what did I just do? Sometimes I've actually been on this kick lately where I'm like, does a game actually need to be 100 hours long? Like, is it yeah, sometimes there's enough content there. But sometimes I feel like they've drilled down human psychology. Like there's so much R&D into how the human mind responds to like tasks and accomplishment and dopamine hits that I'm like, yeah, I just spent 7 hours of my day farming this one resource to make a weapon, but I really didn't do anything, but I know I felt accomplished for it. And then I go down this dark spiral of like, why did I just do that? Did it mean
why am
anything?
I
Yeah.
existing?
And did they calculate that I would do that? And the answer is
Yeah.
like, probably, yeah, they did. Like,
why did thousands and millions of cavemen survive so that I could do this?
yeah, so that I could make a rock pickaxe. It's like there's some irony there. You're just like, what?
I've chopped so
digital.
much wood. I've chopped down 1,000 trees in video games. I have
I
not
know.
chopped down a tree in my life, and
Yeah.
I've wielded an axe a few times. I've never, like, that's what I say, Ted. If
Yeah, I've been on the Nuremberg, but like I'm not a driver. Like,
I'm not. I say to Ted all the time. If I ran 10% as much as I made video game characters run, I'd have like 4,000 gold medals.
dude, I wanted to do
I
a
know.
workout program where every time I died, I'd do like push-ups and sit-ups. But
Yeah, that lasts
I
like
just
15
gave up.
push-ups. Yep. No.
Dude, I just
think
give
we all
up.
do
Like,
that.
there's no way I'm doing that. There's no way.
Yeah.
I could try.
I do
it's a
game
good thought.
standing. I do game while standing though. That was I got a standing desk. It's basically just a fucking shelf. It's wood that I can lean on, and
Sure.
I will game while standing, and I'll accomplish.
That's
like,
better for you.
yeah, like I'll be gaming for like 3-4 hours straight. While I'm supposed to be doing my
Dude,
job.
that's probably great while you're playing Death Stranding or something.
Right. You got to get the treadmill out so you can simulate walking to every.
Dude, they just came out with the 3D treadmill for VR games, so it's over.
Ready
Prepare
Player
to
One
be
shit
totally
right there.
immersed.
Right.
Dude, Death Stranding. You ever play that, Brad?
I did. I feel like I wanted to like that game more than I did like that game, if that makes sense.
What did you think of the
Yeah.
terrain?
What do you mean by that? Like,
Well, that's like the main enemy is the terrain.
right. I mean, I thought like there was some cool stuff in that game as far as like the social aspects where people could lay down pathways for you that you would see to
Right.
make like navigating the terrain more easy. But like at the same point, I was just like, I could be playing like Fallout or something and like
Yeah, where
Do-
you're not a
do
UPS
stuff
driver.
over the course of that walk. Yeah.
Dude, speaking of this shit, I was talking to my homie, one of my other homies. He said he played it. He said he built a whole fucking highway. He said he spent mad time, built his own highway. Well, he built it for like everybody, but he built the highway, right? And like people could like thumbs up your shit, right?
Yeah.
He ain't getting no thumbs up. He just had people make signs on his highway and thumbs up the signs.
So he had people somehow like gaming the system on
Dude, he
him.
was like super depressed talking to me about it.
For me, it's like I've spent enough time in other games, like for example, like a Minecraft where you make a whole railway to like get resources back to your camp that like felt like it had more purpose to me than whatever I was doing in Death Stranding. Like
Yeah. No,
no amount of crushing monsters in that game
Basically,
would turn me around on
go
it,
to
I think.
LA and have your truck stolen, work for GPS, and that's what the game is. You
work
have
for
to continue to
GPS.
deliver these
You
packages.
mean UPS, right?
Garmin.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, dude. I played Ark. Ark's probably my most documented hours game. Probably
Right.
like, around less than 1,100 hours, but more than 1,000. And I've not accomplished a single thing in that game. I haven't beaten a boss. I haven't done well.
Dude, that game is so wild, dude. My homie said he hasn't played for 30 days and his house was like dissolving.
Yep.
And people like stole his animals and dinosaurs and shit.
Yep.
Yeah. I haven't
And like people build like fucking like Avengers airships on like two dinosaurs. That's crazy.
I had this conversation with my girlfriend
On crack.
where, like, whenever we're watching like a apocalypse show, or like a zombie show, movie, or whatever, she's like, I don't think everyone would like be so quick to kill each other like in these shows. I'm like, really?
I'm killing.
Like, have you played? I'm just like, have you played? I'm just like, if you played one video game with me, like an Ark or Rust, you would know right away that's not true. Like it would descend into madness and people would steal from each other so fast.
There are enough people in video games, like even if there was only 5,000 of these people who would just thrive during the apocalypse of just being cruel, brutal, torturous warlords of the plains of Ash. Even if there's only 5,000, they're all playing video games and they are hoping for shit like that to happen. Because that's...
Dude, how happy were you when your boy was announced for Ark 2?
Vin Diesel? Talking about Vin Diesel?
Groot. I'm fucking Groot.
Dude, I don't give a fuck about Ark 2. I gave Ark enough of my time. I don't think the only way I would play that game again is if I had, like, no lie, like a squad of 5 to 15 people who were active, like 5 minimum.
I'm just saying,
do you hear him? He's giving himself a condition to get back into the game. It sounds like an abusive relative to me. Yeah, dude, it's like, I'll never play this game unless...
Like, everybody who builds all this shit in like Minecraft and shit, you give those motherfuckers Legos. Tell them to build that shit with Legos. They would not build that shit.
But that's part of what's sweet about Minecraft. You can't do that with Legos. It is digital. It's digital Legos. I love Legos. And it's $20 as opposed to Legos that are like $120 for a small set.
My mom told me that she threw out my Legos when I was really
sad.
Yeah,
Brad, don't let him mislead you. His mom said there was so much feces and semen on them that
and
there was like amoebas growing on it.
Oh man!
Oh, there's Disney toys, amiibos.
Yeah. Well, wait, isn't amoeba an actual thing? I
thought they were butt plugs.
I thought amoebas were like microscopic organisms that are just all about
consuming. Wait, amiibos, right? Yeah. The Nintendo toys.
Yeah.
Those are amiibos. M-I-I. Amiibos, I think that's how they're spelled.
I've got a couple of them. They're kind of sweet, honestly.
Yeah, our buddy, the recurring Rich, who hasn't been on the show in like a year, he collects them as well.
I don't necessarily collect. Like, there's just a couple. Like when I first got my Switch, like when I had Breath of the Wild, I was like, yeah, I could,
yeah,
I'll get a
It's
Link.
tempting.
That's
it's
cool.
tempting to get some of those for games like that, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Hades, but just to close up Hades, any questions? Any questions? Yeah, any questions, Ted, that you have about Hades, about Greek mythology, and anything, Brad, that you would want to cover that you didn't get to cover as we near the end of this journey?
Ted, any questions first before I go into tangents?
Is this lore canon?
Yes, this is all based on a true story.
Actually, more or less, like it's a lot of it's true to form with a lot of the mythology. They take some creative liberties here and there, but it actually kind of got me like I read up on some of the Olympian gods and Zagreus and his like the relationship with Persephone and like the story of Persephone and how she goes missing from like Hades and Zeus. That's actually in Greek mythology. So while it's not like a one-to-one, it's definitely inspired by and it's actually kind of rad.
Yeah, no, absolutely, like really, like
I like shit like that plays around with like real shit. Like
you would love
like
this game.
Metal Gear
Ted
plays around with like real fucking shit.
Guaranteed, Ted.
What other games do that? I forgot what other games.
Well, God of War does it.
God of War, yeah. 100%.
They You're right.
Wolfenstein. Games where they actually it's historical fiction, though. I guess you can't really call.
Did they kill Hitler in the 3D ones yet? In the Wolfensteins?
I think so. He's like Super Hitler. He's like Super Mecha Hitler.
Hitler.
I think so. He's like it's such him and Sigourney Weaver and that fucking thing in Alien.
They had to like they had to
join
censor
forces.
Hitler for like one of the regions, and all they did
Yeah,
was
Germany.
take out his mustache.
Yeah, they censored him for
So
Germany.
they removed his mustache, and like, yeah, it's not Hitler anymore.
I mean,
Change his name to Alan.
that sounds about right.
He
mustache.
single-handedly ruined that mustache forever. Nobody could ever rock that shit.
No,
Ever.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, I mean that's like
why did he rock that shit?
I mean that's like a really, really, really small thing that he ruined. You know, compared to
Charlie Chaplin ruined that shit.
Compared to the other stuff, Hitler.
Oh,
he ruined some other stuff too.
Yeah, like some paintings. He was a painter too.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Like, at the United States government has a bunch of Hitler's paintings, but they're just like in a vault somewhere because while there's probably some historical significance around them, they don't like. There's no like. There's a moral stance they've taken to not display his art, so it can't be like celebrated in a way, if that makes sense. Admired, or like people
to demonize every aspect of his life is
you should just burn it.
You know, right. It's funny. It's funny. I was literally watching something Joe Rogan was talking about, and I don't watch him often, but this subject was that you're talking about Hitler, and he brought up Dan Carlin and how Dan Carlin compares Hitler to Genghis Khan, and how Genghis Khan, arguably, I think 800-900 years ago, was like when he murdered everybody, like 10% of the world population, and that he can be spoken of in positive lights. That when people speak about Genghis Khan, almost anywhere, there's no stigma added to him. Like, yeah, he was a warlord, he did all this stuff, he did all these things, killed all these people,
true.
But it's the distance. Dan Carlin has this idea that the distance from a tragedy, no matter how large, can completely sway public opinion of it. So while what Hitler did was evil, he suspects that in 800 years, 1200 years, whatever, I know it's a fucking really long time, that people will speak of Hitler in a similar way and bring out that he was an artist. They'll focus more on his positives as a historical figure and less so as like a demonic presence that he's seen as in our lifetime.
Interesting.
I think he's just looking at the general thing, because it's like, all right, Genghis Khan, what were the bad things that he did?
He slaughtered millions and millions and millions of people. Yeah. He enslaved.
No, but like,
did
he slaughter a specific type of person?
That was another thing they talked about. War versus genocide.
Anybody.
That was the difference. That was the distinction they made of war versus genocide. That if you see people across the border that you don't like and kill them, then it's war. If you see people who are within your border and you kill them, it's genocide. Or if you pick a specific group of people, it's genocide, and one is somehow worse than the other, genocide or war. But with Genghis Khan, the things that he did was he raped and killed so many Chinese people that he drastically altered the genetic different variety of an entire continent of people.
But Hitler did the opposite.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, no. Well, Hitler didn't himself rape thousands of women. Genghis Khan
but like,
did.
He's given life and he's taken life. He's making babies and he's taking generations out.
Yeah, what Hitler did was
he's planting his seed and he's ripping trees from the earth.
That's what Genghis Khan did. And
so Genghis Khan's DNA is everywhere, you're saying?
Yeah,
could be on your controller.
There's a high percentage of East Asian people who they think you have like a very high percentage chance of having DNA linked to Genghis Khan or his descendants, because he literally raped so many. I don't know if it was Japan or if it was the Mongolians who they killed every man over like 6 feet tall. because they didn't want them. They
Whoa.
didn't want them to have.
They didn't like playing basketball?
They didn't want them to have big warriors to build an army. So they wanted everybody to be small. Like this type of genetic, like it's like Darwinism in a way, forced Darwinism, where they're picking these enemies, the people they call enemies, killing them for whatever reason.
Or natural selection doesn't matter.
Yeah, there is no.
anymore.
It's the opposite of natural. It's like forced. Whereas like this guy, he has to convince 100,000 people to ride with him and kill all these people, though. So, and that's kind of where they made the connection between Hitler and Genghis Khan, is that they had to become leaders and lead people to do these terrible things that they did. And how we talk,
That's true.
there's a lot of similarities between the two, but people, you don't see Hitler as a good guy in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but you see fucking Genghis Khan.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Hitler got bitches like Kong, though.
I also think like a lot of Hitler's atrocities are more well documented.
right, he filmed everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
So-
it's a little
True.
when you talk about like how history will view Hitler, like Genghis Khan, I think there have been studies that like when a number gets so overwhelmingly big, sympathy levels and like when you're telling the story kind of goes down because it just is another big number as opposed to like 50 people died in a plane crash. Here are their names,
Yeah.
So like for Hitler and having all of that so well documented and all of the everything basically being documented in the annals of history and national libraries and documentaries and movies, I still don't think he's going to age very well, but
yeah.
I'm no
He's
Carlin
probably
to
going to
be
age
sure.
much worse than Genghis Khan. But
Right.
I don't know why we got into this, but I was happy to add some actual knowledge to this podcast rather than just my ridiculous opinions of
Don't say
Hades.
we didn't teach you anything, guys.
Yeah, you.
Right?
Yeah, everyone's learning. But
Yeah.
we got to wrap this up. This went so much better than I could have anticipated. Brad, you're a fantastic guest, and I think I sense. I don't know about you, Ted, but I sense a subtle bread friendship baking in the oven of the world.
Oh yeah.
I like potato bread, personally.
Like I said, man, all bread is my children. So
Oh yeah,
any bread you like, I probably also do too.
I'm a big fan of
My
tortillas.
stomach shows for it.
they're kind of like bread.
Do you know what's fucked up? When I was little, I'm just gonna say, it was really fucking embarrassing, bro.
It's the
I
end
just
of the
watched
podcast.
Barney, dog.
That's it.
Right? Barney.
It's not
Okay.
embarrassing.
And Gullah Gullah Island.
Yeah, I watched
and
that shit
Yeah.
too. It's just fire.
Pumpernickel bread,
So-
Barney. Yeah.
That I used to think bread was grown in the ground because they grew bread in the ground on like Gullah Gullah Island and Barney. and for years
So
I thought
you thought loaves of bread.
shit was grown
You
in the
thought
ground
loaves
like,
of bread
like
just grew in the
potatoes.
dirt.
And loaves are just
And they
in
just
the-
pulled out a bag of bread. Fucking
That's
it's already
great.
tied up and shit.
unbelievable.
Already cut.
You imagine nobody corrects that, and you get to be like 12 years old, and you're just like, you just ask
Those
the wrong
people
question.
exist.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Dude, it was like I was so mad about like not knowing about that for
It's
so
one of those
long.
silent-
It was
silent-
so stupid.
Silent puzzles you solve in your mind, like, oh wait, like, oh okay. I hope nobody knew that's what I thought.
Like I just had like an all moment. Yeah, right. Like,
You just-
oh, that's how you use a fork. What?
Yeah, dude, I don't want to bring up an old story, but things fall through the cracks for people sometimes, and you learn things the wrong way. Like the wrong way to wipe your beehole, and the wrong way to clean your ears, and what to do with the stuff that comes out of your body. So things, it's just some people just don't know where bread is made. Okay, it's just
Or how
that's
it's
the-
made. Yep.
So I was just gonna look through my my notes real quick.
So
We'll you know what? We'll talk about Hades some other time at more length, because I think this was a good episode. I think we talked
For
enough
sure.
about it. But this was like an introductory. This was like a first date episode with Bread
Hades 101.
and Bread Radio.
we damn near fucking read you guys the manual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess
And
so.
thanks again for having me, guys. Really,
No,
really
it
do
was great.
appreciate
You got
it.
any closing thoughts? Anything you want to say? I want you to talk about your podcast a bit. Shout it out. Go for
Yeah,
it.
so you can find Bread Radio basically wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, any combination of pod and a noun is what I like to say because there's so many of them out there these days. But you can
man.
listen to
Podheart.
myself and my buddy Greg talk about games and games news every week. New episodes are on Friday, and hopefully you add it to your rotation along with high end gaming. So
Go listen to it after this instead of this.
no, rotational. We'll go for allies instead of enemies.
Choose your
but,
room, just like in Hades.
Exactly.
Choose
but
your
we'll have to
podcast.
get one of you guys on the show as well and return the favor. But
Yeah,
it's been fun. Thanks.
That would
Thanks
be
for
a
having me on.
blast. And we're just gonna do a quick shout out to BNAP, whose music we use for the intro and outro.
Nom, 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 nom.
And I wanted to say shout out to all the Greek gods who have fucking incest sex with their cousins and their sisters. They have sex with their
Isn't
own
that,
kids.
Like, isn't that what Vikings are?
Call me Aphrodite.
Incest? Isn't that why they have red hair?
What? You think all Vikings
Yeah.
have sex with each other? Their children?
Well, isn't that where the red hair comes from?
No, that's from Neanderthals. It's a whole different episode. We'll get to that some other time. But
That might be one of those things you learned like bread.
That's
Like-
another bread thing.
like bread as a subject. That's fucking good. Ted, you got anything to say? You say goodbye?
I'm gonna make a bread list. I'm gonna make a list of my bread miseducations.
Yeah, we'll just start with how it's made and pronounced. And it's pronounced breed. It's pronounced rye breed. Okay. Thanks for listening. This was High End Gaming's episode about Hades, and like all things in the Hades universe, I hope you all go to hell.